Hey YouTube, recently had the mini wash plant up in the forest for its first true outing, not in the yard or outside the shop or in the shop. So I did a couple things before I went. If you look at the end of the punch plate here, this used to be 1 foot longer. And I've cut that off and moved the leg brackets back so it made it a little bit more stable. But the other thing I found was the trap's loose. That, you know, the trap goes down here underneath, right here. This is where the drop is out of the punch plate up on top, and the material falls down here and it would run out the side. Well, that was really cumbersome in the forest and in the creek. So the new plan is I'm going to take that end piece that I cut off of here, and we're going to splice in a piece that I found here in the shop, and I just folded up, which I'll show you. And we're going to run it this way. We're going to run it from here all the way back, and it'll come out between the legs back here in the back, and that's where it will dump out on the ground. At least that's my plan. As far as I've got so far, this piece here is the piece I cut off the mini wash plant. And what I've done here is I've just clipped the corners on this, and I'll probably round these off here. And I had a piece, let's see, it was 16 inches wide of aluminum. Well, actually, I cut it down to 16 wide, and what I've done, I've made I think it's 34.5 inch long sluice, which I'll add this piece to, like so. So I'm going to have one that's like 46 inches long, which will be not bad at all. And a friend of mine on YouTube, Alan Robertson, is really noted for making his silicone mats, and he started out making silicone mats using Legos and stacks of coins and then embedding the silicone in it. And he's progressed from that point to where he has a laser, not a laser printer, what do they call it, a 3D printer. And he makes 3D molds for all these mats now. And they're really, really good mats. I'll show you some that he and I did a little trade. I sent him some really hot pay dirt from Arizona, and he sent me a pair of mats that will fit my sluice. I'm sorry, a pair of molds to make the mats that'll go in my sluice. So anyhow, that's where I'm at with this next project. Don't know when or how soon I can get this done, but it's going to be fun, real fun project, making the mats out of silicone. And Alan Robertson has many videos on doing that, and he's also got one that he shows where he's working with the 10-inch wide mats, which is what this will be, because this sluice is 10 inches wide, 3-inch high sides, which that doesn't matter, but he shows how he makes his form to hold the mold, and then how to put mix up the silicone to put in there, and it's really pretty cool. So I'm going to give her a go, and that's where I'm at right now, and I'll show you those molds here in just a minute. But before I go to show you the molds, another problem where I run into, I was running my 2,000 gallon an hour pump off a generator, which I figured it would really keep the voltage up, because my voltage sagged on the power supply down to 10.5 volts, and I wasn't getting enough water. Well, I'm still not getting enough water out of that 2,000 gallon a minute pump, so I'm guessing there's a problem with the pump. So what I've done in the meantime is I've built this. This is an adapter that goes from 1.5 inches to 1 inch to 3/4, and this is 3/4 going into my spray nozzles. So this will go in like yo. And I say it'll go in like yo, but anyhow, it threads in there, honest. There we go. So that threads in. I mean, I know it looks like a really crazy looking thing here, but the reason I've done this is I'm going to try to run. I've got a big Honda that I use for high banking and dredging, and I'll show you that here in a second. I'll show you what the plan is. So here's the Honda pump. It's a 16.5 horse Honda motor and a P180 pump, 2.5 inch in, 2 inch out, and I've got an adapter that goes 2 inch to 1.5 inches, which this will go on like yo. I mean, it'll thread in. It won't lay in there like that, but it'll thread in here, and then we come out of. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. We come out of this end into the mini high banker over there, and I'll be able to do a piece of lay flat off my big pump and idle it down and hopefully make those nozzles just scream. So that's part of the next thing after we get the mats and the sluice and all that, but just wanted to show you what's up on the planning table. Alright guys, so here's the molds that I got from Alan. He's in Montana, and he sells these on eBay. So keep that in mind. So he sells these molds in pairs, and even has a little instruction sheet here about the mats and about to go to his site and whatnot, and how to do this. But the pairs now, he sells them in, whoops, can't get that off there. If you notice, there's two different ones here. These aren't the same. And these are 6x10s. And look at that for a deep, deep cut in that riffle, huh? That's pretty amazing. That's the one, and this, hang on, that's stuck to the glue. And this is the other. Now the other, as you can see, is a little bit different. It's got larger spaces in places, and some together and some high, but they alternate. At least that's the way I'm understanding it right now, and I could be wrong, but I think that's what he told me, is to alternate these. So you have a one with little riffles, a big riffle, then little riffles, or however you want to do it, I believe. Then you use these and you pour your silicone into these and let it set up, and that's your mat. And he's had mats in there for over a year with a lot of usage on them, and they're still like they were brand new. So anyhow, these are Alan Robertson's 3D printer molds for those mats. I think they're pretty incredible. I think that's amazing. So there you go. Look him up on YouTube too. You know, this shout out is for him, but I'll get back to you when I'm actually producing some mats. So the sluice is going to be the same as the mini wash plant here that we're looking at, and I'm going to splice it together the same way. As you can see here, this is a 1.5 inch by 3 inch piece of 16 gauge of aluminum with 6 rivets, and that holds these pieces together, and I'm going to do the same on the sluice. Okay, YouTube, I'm working with things I'm not familiar with, or I've been around wood for all my life, but building a project out of me isn't one of my things. I'm a metal guy. So Alan, I'm going to try to build a frame for our mold that you sent me, and I think I got it figured out here, so I'm going to try to do it like you showed in your video, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so I made the base of this mold for the mold for the silicone here, and it will sit in this frame. I used 1/2 inch particle board that I found laying in the shop, and I actually had to buy this half-inch, I don't know what it's called, but it's just half-inch wood. And my bandsaw, my metal bandsaw, really didn't like it, but it cut it anyhow. So I'm going to try to fasten this down and see what happens. Okay, so it's actually starting to look like a frame for the mold. With the exception of the screws stick out too high, so I'm going to countersink all these screws. I've got a little countersink right here, wherever it is, right there, and I'll countersink these so they don't stick up. And we ought to have a form for our mold. We'll see. Alright, so now the form is totally made. I've sunk all these holes and all the screws. I pre-drilled everything first. And as every good wood person knows, when you do that, all of a sudden your screws are too long. Like here, and like there, and all of them on the bottom. So I'll just take a wheel and I'll cut these off. And so they'll be flush so they don't gouge up anything. And I think it's going to work. Okay, so 30 seconds and no more screws popping through the bottom of the board. Isn't that special? Looks like it's good to go. Alan Robertson, you make things look so easy when you do them. I guess I didn't watch the video close enough. I'm going to have to get a hold of you and find out why I've got an 1/8 inch above my mold on the deep ones and a 1/4 inch above on the other ones, and if that's going to be a problem, and I think it may be. So until Alan gets back to me, I'm going to call this one good and finish on another video. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, even though it didn't come out the way I expected it to.